11 debut. Izuku is sitting down on the couch thinking back to all that has happened in these past 7-ish years. Something he realized was that comparing himself now to when he first entered that dungeon a few weeks ago. He was getting lazy. Not only has he stopped clearing dungeons, he has not recruited new members to Black Cross. Izuku decided to call a meeting for all members of the Black Cross, which was 4. The structure of the Black Cross was simple. It followed that of pieces in chess. He wanted to have 2 knights, 2 rooks, 2 bishops, 16 pawns, a queen, and a king, with each pawn having a squad of 4 to command. However, he would never reach that goal unless he gets his lazy ass up. Thankfully, Syra, Alice, and Bahadur were not busy. Besides the fact that they didn't agree at first due to their hobbies. Bahadur was currently really into plants and owns a garden, with help from the internet. Bahadur was able to keep his plants alive, and a little magic also helped. Izuku never complained since he can't see the downsides of getting fresh fruits to eat. Syra was more interested in the internet since she wasn't able to enjoy it in her world. She does go to Izuku for help sometimes, but now she pretty much has it all figured out. She told Izuku she was a streamer, but Izuku didn't really understand what that was, so he just nodded and smiled until she left. Izuku still can't believe that Alice went from a badass, a super cool vampire seeking revenge, to a shut-in otaku. She says that the only people she can trust are them, and the ones in fictional stories. Such a dramatic shift stunned Izuku, but he got used to it over time, and pretty much never bothered her unless it was important. Because for some reason she always needed to watch the newest episode or catch up on the latest chapter of a series she just started. They were all now in the main area/lobby with Alice, Syra, and Bahadur sitting down around a circular table and Izuku standing. "So?" asked Alice, obviously wanting this to be over. "I realized that we haven't done much these past few days, so I thought maybe we should go do something interesting." "Like what?" "A dungeon?" chimed in Syra. "Well, you see, for an organization we have only 4 members, which is very small. But also, no one out in the world right now knows about us." "What are you suggesting?" asked Bahadur. "We're going to cause a ruckus. Try to bring some attention to us and become popular." "That's the word. Yeah, I guess we have been pretty much laying around these past few weeks. So going out and having fun doesn't seem like such a bad idea," Syra said with an enthusiastic smile. "Yeah. I have a plan. We are going to rob a bank and take a couple of hostages. You see, it isn't too uncommon for a random group of villains to cause trouble here and there. So they are most likely going to send second-rate villains towards us at first." "Who's they?" asked Alice, who now seemed more interested in the conversation. "Hero organizations. But when we keep defeating the heroes they sent, they will send more prominent heroes our way. That's when we retreat. But here's the catch, we don't harm or kill the hostages and treat them very kindly. I would say to also leave the money, but then Kurogiri would tell us to drop this idea. So, all we take is the money." "Makes sense, so when do we start?" Bahadur asks. "Well, I need to suggest this to Kuro and then ask him to gain approval from AFO, but they both should approve of this idea. It just might take time to get in contact with AFO." Izuku looks up at the ceiling in thought. The others are about to get up and leave to continue with their hobbies, until... "Wait!" Izuku calls out to them. "What about our quirks?" Confused, Syra asked. "What do you mean?" Izuku takes a deep breath. "You see, quirks only give a person 1 power, and anyone with more than 1 power is unheard of. It will make the public suspicious of us." Izuku looks at Bahadur and then asks him. "You can use magic, right?" Bahadur nods, wondering why Izuku brought up an obvious point. "Well, then that means that you can use multiple elements, which means that people would suspect that you have multiple powers. Which is not normal in this world. So..." Izuku rails off his sentence to signify that Bahadur should finish it. Bahadur ponders for a moment, then realizes what Izuku is suggesting. Oh. You want us to restrict our abilities to give the false illusion of having a quirk? Yes! Right on the money! Well then, Bahadur says. My quirk could be to shoot out beams of light and manipulate them at will. I guess that would make the most sense, since that is what I mainly do with light magic. Yep. That checks out. Any ideas, you two? Sarah shouts. The ability to create and manipulate flames. Izuku nods in agreement. They all turn to Alice, who complains with a groan before finally telling them her genius idea for a quirk. I don't know. How about a quirk that enhances my physical abilities by a bunch or something? Izuku was about to say something, but he was cut off. And, no, I will not change my mind, no matter what you say. That did indeed shut Izuku up. With that out the way, Izuku told Kurogiri of his plans and Kurogiri agreed that this was a nice way to make themselves known, so he would naturally bring it up to AFO. Kurogiri left and it left Izuku time to think. He thought of a question that was brought to him by Alice. A few minutes ago. Hey Izuku. Izuku looked over at Alice and made eye contact with her. Yeah, what's up? What about you? Izuku gave her a confused stare. Alice was starting to get pissed. I mean your quirk. Izuku put his hand up to his chin and thought for a while. Sarah and Bahadur were also staring at him waiting to hear his answer. It's a secret! Shouted Izuku proudly. Huh? The rest said synchronized. How is that fair? You forced me to come here and come up with a stupid quirk. Now all of a sudden it's secret? That's it, I am outta here. Izuku sees her storm out of the room. He didn't even get a chance to explain himself. Back to present. However, the reason Izuku didn't tell them was that he didn't know what to pick. Izuku has tons of skills and abilities he uses, so he finds it hard to. Izuku thinks back to his parents and their quirks, how much they flaunted their stupid quirks. He remembered the pain of having those powers used against him. He can't forget something like that no matter how strong he gets. Izuku can also clearly remember how much pride his family had in their power. They even harmed him because he didn't have any. An hour later. Izuku knocks on Alice's door. Who is it? It's me, Izuku. She surprisingly opens the door. What do you want? Izuku can tell she isn't in the mood for anything right now. The ability to create and manipulate electricity and ice. Alice stood still and quiet for a while, then shouted. That's it. That is what you wanted to tell me. Ugh. I thought it would be something important. She shuts the door. Despite her angry demeanor, Izuku knew that during that moment of silence, she was very happy. Izuku knows how much Alice hates secrets, so he felt she should be the first to know. Izuku tells the others what his quirk is and heads out into the streets of Japan. It feels like it's been forever since he has gone out to enjoy himself, and not to run some errand that AFO sent. He takes his time to explore and look at all the shops, while he was never really too interested in clothes. However, he felt that his current clothes were a little lacking. While looking at a mannequin, Izuku felt a presence watching him followed by footsteps slowly approaching. He was about to launch an attack, but couldn't. I don't think that outfit suits you at all. It was a girl? And berating his style nonetheless, normally Izuku wouldn't take this lying down. But he was undercover right now, so he had no choice but to politely continue the conversation. And may I ask why? The girl with periwinkle hair seemed to giggle to herself before saying, May I? Why are you speaking so formally? Izuku was confused by the question. It wasn't the answer he was expecting, so he answered another question of hers once again. Because I can clearly tell that you are older than me. So what's wrong with addressing a senior accordingly? Izuku can tell that the senior part got under her skin a little. She pouted then spoke. Well, I don't like it. I mean, we are not that far apart in age anyway. You're only what? A year younger than me? She asked him like he knew how old she was, though he assumes that she is about the same age as Syra. So, about 15 years old. But enough about ages. Izuku wanted out of this conversation fast. He sucked at handling overly energetic people like this. Izuku met a few people like that, especially those who were passionate about their hobbies. Well then, madam, I will bid you adieu, said Izuku, not only insulting her once more, but bowing very dramatically to rub salt in the wound. The look on her face before he left was priceless. Unfortunately, he couldn't take a picture to keep it framed on the wall. That's what those types of people get for not. Before Izuku realized it, he stopped once more. It was the same girl. She looks mad, really mad. Izuku's best option was to escape, but it was far too late for that now. His only choice was to accept his fate. Hey, the girl said. You're kinda funny. She finished her sentence while grinning. He couldn't tell what that grin meant, but he knew that he didn't like it one bit. What's your name? Izuku. He made sure not to give out his last name, since he no longer wanted to be associated with that family. Well then, Izuku, my name is Nijire Hato. And you're gonna be hanging out with me today. Wait, what? Thought Izuku. So instead of having fun by himself like he wanted, Izuku instead spent time being dragged around to different stores and being forced to try on different outfits. People looking from the outside might say that this was a date, but Izuku disagreed. He was merely a dress-up doll that this girl found entertainment in. Time passed and the sun started to finally set, so to wrap things up, Nijire promised that they had only one more place to go to. Leaving the shopping district and entering the park, Nijire took him to an ice cream stand where she bought him and her both an ice-cold scoop. She sits on a bench nearby and invites him over to sit down. They sit in silence for a while and enjoy their ice cream, but she speaks up. I'm sorry for dragging you around all day. Izuku was surprised. He thought she didn't know how intrusive she was being. You see, I am normally like this at school, but people took how I acted the wrong way. And now I am excluded as a part of their class. When I saw you, I thought you looked a little lonely and bored, so I thought I would mess with you and then leave you alone. But seeing how you were able to match my energy and approach, I guess I felt really happy. Just know that I really did have a lot of fun. Thanks, Izuku. Izuku looked down at his feet and thought, not bad if all it takes is some free time in exchange to brighten up someone's day. Then I guess I wouldn't mind being someone else's entertainment. Izuku heard a coughing sound and immediately looked up at Nijire, who was giving him glare, which when he made eye contact, turned into a very mischievous-looking grin. Izuku gave her a what's so funny face, to which she said, You know you said all that out loud, right? How embarrassing, thought Izuku. He can hear her laughing while he looks down in shame. He's used to thinking out loud sometimes, but mainly in combat scenarios. If Alice were here right now, she wouldn't let me hear the end of it. Once Nijire calmed down, she let out a more attention-demanding cough, so Izuku looked over to her and said, Well, if that's how you feel, is there any way I can contact you again? Only if you don't mind me borrowing some of your time every once in a while. She now had a bright smile on her face, which led to Izuku unknowingly smile as well. Yeah, sure. Let me just write down my phone number and... Here you go. Well, then Izuku, I have to get going. See you. Oh, okay. See you. Izuku watched as she got slowly and slowly further away, and due to this Izuku now had a melted ice cream. The end.